best and the greatest day to be alive is today. And welcome to Living Unchained Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Melane, also known as Wise.
And I am your other host. I am Lekeisha, author, coach, and trainer.
Come on now. This is a place where we can be dropping 24 karat gold bars indeed. All right, family. Last week we had an amazing episode. We were talking about management and alone versus being alone, right? So in that conversation, Coach Lekeisha brought up an interesting thing about the power of journaling. So we figured that this would be an amazing opportunity to take advantage of talking about the power of journaling. So this episode is talking about how to do journaling the way that we have learned how to do it in the last several years. Coach Lekeisha, of course, has been a certified John Maxwell coach and have clients and had taught them many, including a while right here, the power of journaling and fitting in a different style. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to actually address it and see how we can introduce this so it can be a powerful tool in your life. So, but before we jump in and get into more details, I need you guys to subscribe, hit the like button, and definitely share. Hey, we are a community here, and definitely want you guys to join into the Break Free Nation. And you can go ahead and visit our website, livingunchainedpodcast.com, and more information about me, Lekeisha, and the community is there as well. So definitely go to the webpage and check it out. All right, family. So I want to go ahead and now actually jump in real quick because I just want to deal with this thought process right here. And the thought process is dealing with this. It's explaining journaling as a spiritual discipline and faith practice. This is something that Coach Lekeisha had talked about. So we're going to yield the mic to her real quick. And we're going to talk about the standpoint of, explaining the journaling as a spiritual discipline and a faith practice.
Yes, honestly, this is a great conversation that we can actually talk about, just how journaling is really a spiritual discipline and it really is a process of life. It's something that each and every one of us should be able to do authentically and, honestly be aware of what we're doing. Writing things down. A lot of times we write our goals, we write those down. We have those in place, or we write, our grocery list. Well, you know what? What about the conversations that we have with ourselves and with our Father, with our Lord and Savior, honestly, and being intentional about it? And it's something about, when you're feeling happy and when you're feeling sad, being able to write all of those experiences down. And actually being able to have a goal, to understand, have clarity. And honestly, journaling is something I've been doing for multiple years and understanding what it means and just writing down my thoughts, becoming an author. Honestly, it started out with writing, pen and paper. And that's it. Not something glamorous, put together and having that down, but actually being able to be intentional as far as putting it all down on paper and actually having a segment. Honestly, I believe it's a conversation with God and being able to have those conversations. So because we're having those already, why not put it down on paper and really talk to Him? This is how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling so happy. I'm feeling so sad. And I began to understand the power of writing that down, pen and paper, and being able to have a process in place and the true intention. It's a power there. Having a conversation with God is really great. And when you begin to be intentional about it, honestly, it's going to be a win-win. You're really going to be, it's going to be something that you're going to do, honestly, each and every day. Morning, noon, and night.
Come on now. 24 karat gold bars drop indeed. Something you're going to do day and night. And I want to give a little brief discussion about it as well. I started, those who know my journey, for those who have purchased the book Where and you understand my challenges with dealing with speech, language, reading, and all that stuff above, right? And so writing was not even though I did okay in school with it, that was not one of my favorite subjects. Maybe take a pen and write. Now I would love to draw. Now I draw all day and night. That was my therapy, was drawing, but just actually writing and actually trying to understand, because I didn't understand that part of thoughts, right? So, so, so most of my, I said, existence on this planet, I didn't do much writing like I should. But 4 years ago, once I went through my transformation period in my life, I had this amazing coach. She was on one of my past podcasts, Coach Natalie, and she introduced journaling to me in a different way. And it's a standpoint of healing. It's taking the thoughts. She said, trust me, it's taking that thought that's in your mind and be able to translate it on paper. It do something to you, and it transform you in a certain way. Then when I met you, and then you add additional stuff to it about it's just not a natural thing, but it's a spiritual thing as well. It's a tool, and like you said, even when you don't have to have a set time, it's when the moment occurs or happens. You can simply be in your car and a thought will come and you just need to write it down. It can be as long as a minute, or it can be as long as 30, 40 minutes, 2 hours. It just depends on you in that moment. So by learning to understand how journaling really helps the mind and also settle the mind, and you realize you got a lot of things up here. If you take the time to write it down and write the thoughts out, it brings more clarity. And I think it's a very blessing to be able to understand how this journaling really works for individuals, especially like me, who never did think of it as being a very positive thing or beneficial thing. Now being midlife, it's such a very powerful tool now for me to be able to manage my day, manage my life, manage my health. You know what I'm saying? Your mental health. And so I think it's a great opportunity to actually talk about it. So let me throw this up in here real quick. So we know, since we are dealing with why journaling still matters, I want to go ahead and drop this out right here. I want to ask you this real quick, Lekeisha. When did journaling first became more than just words on paper for you?
It began to be more than just words for me when I began to really talk to God about what was going on in my life. I felt real confused, honestly wise. I felt just really just stuck in life. I didn't know what I was doing, what was happening. Mind you, I went to college. I have my master's. I have the degrees. I have, the processes in place, but I still was feeling some type of way. I said, okay, God, it has to be something bigger, because I'm not feeling, the warm and fuzzies. I'm not feeling happy. What's going on? And honestly, it really took me, honestly wise, to really write that down. God, I'm not feeling good. You said to come before you with anything. If I'm feeling heavy laden, that you would give me rest. That's what you said. So I said, okay, so if that's the case, why am I feeling this way? And honestly, I really felt like, writing it down and honestly how I was feeling wise, I began to feel better. Began to feel, comfortable, because I began to write those words and give it to God. God says to give it to him. He would give me rest. He would give me peace. So if that's the case, journaling, writing this down on a pen and paper and just writing how I felt, he began to answer me. And that's like, wow. So I began to take it to the word of God. I began to understand what he was saying. He said he'll give me peace. He'll give me clarity. Bring it to him. I began to receive so much clarity. Honestly, I began to understand what to do. I began to understand, hey, get yourself in a space where you can hear me, and it was, I'm usually able to hear God like clearly in the morning. So I began to have that in my prayer, have that as far as in my journal, and began to understand just giving it to him. And just really, it was really, honestly, I really to incorporate a pause. I need to incorporate the gratitude segment. I began to incorporate how great he is. So incorporating that into my process, it began to feel so good. And all of this is for writing it down. God, me and God is like good friends. So we able to talk like this, like, God, just writing this down, talking to you, because I talk to you all the time, and just having clarity in this way. And it was like, I just felt like God was just telling me, yeah, just doing this, just having a conversation with me. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. And honestly, I began to understand the next step. I began to understand that I needed to rest. I needed to relax. I had so much on my plate, clients here. I began to, okay, so you're doing a great thing here, but you're not resting and pausing. You're not doing self-care. So it was just really pausing and resting and self-care. And honestly, began to incorporate that in everything I was doing. I began to feel so much better. And all of this just became from writing it down, having a conversation with him. God said, Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, make it plain. And that's like, okay, I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write it plain. And guess what? The word works. It began to really work for me. All of this came with the power of journaling. And I said, okay, there's got to be something here. I got to show others how they could do it too. And I began to do the very same thing for my clients, for my connections, for my friends. And I said, you know what? There's some power here. You can actually write how you're feeling and how you're connecting with God in this way. And honestly, it began to really speak volumes for me and my family. Honestly, it really began to do a world for myself.
Come on now. You know what I'm about. 24 karat gold bars dropped indeed. I love you. You share a lot of things, but some of things stuck out for me when you use the word rest. And the word God calls is, Jesus Christ is the Lord of the Sabbath. So therefore he calls to enter into his rest. And something about the power of journaling, it allows you to walk into that rest. It's that state of peacefulness in your being. You know what I'm saying? The world might have be chaos, a whole lot of things might be going crazy around us and all that stuff like that. But it's something about that rest. There's something about when you enter into what we call the God kind of rest, which is that God kind of peace, where chaos can be around you, but you are I call it focus, and you're not disturbed. And when you actually journaling and you actually using those methods, those tools of journaling, it allows you to set a focus. You used the word earlier, pause. You're able to take that pause. And when you take the pause, you'll block out a lot of things, a lot of what I'll call it background noise, a lot of things that will cause us to actually shift our focus and shift our attentions, or even, disciplines, all those things above. But when you actually go into the standpoint of writing and journaling, I would say not just writing, but journaling, that actually taking the moments, the thoughts in your mind, take those things and actually write down and the expressions of those things. But it's not just that, but like you said, it's a tool that actually help you level set, but also the people who are connected to you help them as well, because you being a level set piece, and that piece can be as an energy as well. It can be transferable. And then people are like, whoa, everything go quick, but you are at this state where I'm trying to understand how this thing happened, and they allow you to minister, be able to be a witness, allow you to be able to explain. Remember we had a conversation with our pastor, right? About a week ago, and she had mentioned that some things are going on, chaos around the house, and the question asked why you don't get rattled. And she said because she operated this peace. You know what I'm saying? It's this peace, this rest, this pause, where everything go around, because as she prepares, and I'm saying she prepared to minister stuff, and as she writes, as well, she have a level of peace, and she doesn't get rattled. And it's a beautiful thing if you use journaling as a tool, don't get rattled, right? It allows you to operate in this level of peace. So it allows us to govern ourselves very well. So I'm going to go ahead and use this as also an additional talking point, is have and I'm going to ask this generally out to everybody, and I want to answer this question as you're going to answer this question as well. Have you ever written something and realized later it was God giving you direction?
Yeah, this is a really good question for me. Honestly, I felt like, God was giving me direction, when, just even, oh gosh, this is so back in the day, when I first joined the military. I joined at age 18, and mind you, my neither one of my parents, went to the military. I had family members that went, but my parents, they didn't go. So that was a huge shift in training for myself, added to the education that my father has given me when I was in high school. So it was different, but I had to lean on God, on knowing that's what he told me to do, to actually add that into the education system that I had, right? So it was literally just me and God having a conversation together. I always have a conversation with him in the morning. We will always connect with each other, praise and worship, and I began to hear him clearly. So me writing down just how I'm feeling with him, it was always being clear with me. But this was a different change. Neither one of my parents went to the military, so I had to do this on my own. So I had to trust that this was something that God was doing for me without my immediate inner circle of my family having that leverage of being that part of their process. But I trusted him. This was something that he told me to do, added to my education. Going through that process, it was different, but it was something that I knew that was God. I felt warm and fuzzies about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into the military. So I wrote that down, going into the military. What happens with that? All I know is that God told me to actually seek a recruiter. So I began to go through this process seeking a recruiter. We will always, believe it or not, I don't know if you have, Wise, like I know growing up, I will always see like this commercial, be all you can be if you join the army. And and then
in the
remember back in the
army.
army, right? And then, this show back in the day used to be MASH. I don't know if anybody
Oh
else
yeah.
had
Now what?
the
It's a lot
sitcom.
of people. It's a lot of people's favorite show. It was my favorite show, but yes, I'm familiar with Match.
We actually like MASH. So it was something that was interesting with me. I thought these women and men, just how they began to talk about, when they were overseas, this is Vietnam, right? So they were already overseas and they had to really have a camaraderie when it comes to that, right? And these were nurses and doctors, all of them together building this process. And this was like the military for me. I'm like, okay, I didn't think about the military in it. I just thought that it was a great connection between people coming together, making sure that they supported the United States, right? Mind you, I'm going somewhere with this. And all I know is that was just, it really set well with me. It felt really comfortable. So bringing this back to why journaling is so real, that process, just going through that process, mind you, I was trained, in elementary school and in middle school and high school to actually higher education, to go to something better and beneficial for yourself. College, right? I already knew I was going to go to college, but who was going to pay for college? My dad already said, listen, I supported you through the education that you have, but I really just can't support you with college, even though I want you to go, but I can't pay for it. Daughter, I love you, but we need something else for you to move forward in it. All I know, I took that to God too. I said, God, this is scary. Oh my gosh. All I know is that I'm seeing so many different visions. Mind you, I'm writing this down. I said, God, I'm seeing this, but this military thing, I believe this is going to be a great process to help me with my career as well too. I connected with the recruiter. I began to choose a recruiter on the Army side. And who knew that that process was going to help me not only with my education, help me with a skill set, an administration, and also assist me with college funding. Mm-hmm. And being able to go into the military, that was going to be a process added to myself so I could go to school. I already knew I was going to go to college, but at the same time, it helped me financially to be able to help me with college. And all of this came with writing it down and giving it to God. And it made fun clarity when it comes to the military, how it was connected with me, just being able to look at MASH and all those things, it sat well with me because these were military people. This was just not anybody. These were actual military people over there in Vietnam supporting their nation. It was just like, wow, Holy Spirit, all of this together, this didn't make sense at first, but it's so much clarity. And it all came down to trusting him in this process and taking him with me on this process of journaling.
And the best and the greatest day to be alive is today. Want to give a shout out to Ania's spot, because this spot right here has been welcoming us in. So definitely check us out. If you guys loving the content, I need you guys to subscribe, hit the like button, and definitely share. We appreciate each and every person who's actually subscribing here. And go to our website, livingunchainedpodcast.com, for more information about me and the amazing Lekeisha. So let's go back to the amazing podcast.
Yeah,
Come on
this
now.
is great.
Come on now.
Yeah.
24 karat gold bars drop indeed. And you made this reference, and we were having a conversation about that, and you mentioned MASH and stuff. And I want to, because this podcast is about living unchained. So we want to make sure I want to make sure, as we agreed upon on this podcast, is just address life changing situations, right? And things that cause us to be chained and then cause us not to be able to live in the full purpose. One of the reasons why I didn't like MASH, because at that time, my father was in the Vietnam, and I mentioned it in like a couple of episodes and stuff, and in his tendencies and his things that he did, especially in violence, it's more laid out in the book. But but my experience with my dad coming back from Vietnam was not positive. So therefore, I looked at like some of that MASH. I didn't want to resonate with it because of how my dad was. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come out, all funny, joking, so that he came out. He had some challenges from that. So therefore, a show like MASH didn't benefit me. I didn't like that. Now, some other shows that allowed me to laugh and stuff, but I got more into like I said, the more of the superhero in general, of like Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, Justice League, the Incredible Hulk. Those, the live action Spider-Man, those, remember, they even had a Captain America, and of course they had the Wonder Woman back in the day, Linda Carter, when she did Wonder Woman, and all them things like that. Those were things that attracted me. but I didn't like MASH. But now I appreciate things now, understanding, and went through the healing life, and how I could appreciate a show like that now. And it actually exposed some things, exposed the human dynamic of what you can go through in the military and the lifestyle. That's why it's one of the most popular shows, because of the relationship they actually portrayed, and they did in a committed way. So I understand it now, but I couldn't understand it back then because of my life situation I was dealing with. Now, my change, that actually when I was writing something, then I realized it was God was giving me direction, is actually when I did my book. My whole attention when I was going to get into doing the podcast or doing stuff online, me being I call it the tech innovator. And the reason why I said tech innovator is I help other people use innovation technology in their lives. So that's my whole goal, is to always inform, bring awareness, teach people how to use technology, because technology was my saving grace for me. So me being more like a technology expert, I got a lot of clients and stuff that way. But that's the direction I was heading. But when I wrote the book, actually God was speaking to me and directed me of the standpoint of healing. And a lot of men don't deal with the standpoint of stages in life of healing. And when I wrote that book, it allowed me to heal, because it like was journaling. The deep thoughts that I had, the deep moments that I had in my life, is actually exposed in that book, and it allowed me to heal. As I got healed, it was directing me. It was directing me into the purpose what I believe God has me to be, and that purpose was to actually inform people about, you can have challenges in your life, but you can overcome them, and you can overcome them through the grace of God, and using, as we mentioned in previous episode, the tool of forgiveness. And forgiveness not just for that person, it's for you. And I had to forgive, like I said, the young man, the young 8 years old child. I had to know, make sure he's forgiven, because he realized he didn't know. Then I had to go through the stage of life where I'm realizing healing as being a teenager, young adult, and actually as a man, and I should walk in that freedom, that same freedom that Christ gave us. Like he said, hey, he died for the remission of our sins. That sin don't have hold on us. So therefore, my past don't have hold on me. But the opportunity now to be able to resonate with others and show them that they can get through things. And sprinkle a little bit of technology in there as well, because I always use tools, because there are tools out there that we can use for journaling. I'm very big about using the journal app that's with is in with iOS with the Apple products, and there are other journaling tools out there as well. And as well, I still write, so I use multiple opportunities to do these things, and I think these things are great. I love the way you say your experience, because you had to make a shift. Like, okay, Dad did this, Dad looked out for you, but you had to make a decision that I want to go to another place, and Dad was not able to assist you there. So you know what, military worked out for you in a positive way, and with that, it also with me allowed me to actually understand and get on the business, because you are a veteran, right? And you show the proud thing. You both Army and Navy. People don't understand that she done both the Army and the Navy, not just one branch. You did too, and you have a story behind that. I guess we'll talk about that another day. But you done two branches, and the thing is, you still love the country. You serve the best way that you know how to serve. No matter what, you serve it, and it allow you to go to the next place where you want to go in your education life, and you had to make them choices. I chose not to go through it because of the experience I had with my father. So I said, I don't want to, well, he went through, I don't want to go through that. But now I have a better understanding. But guess what? Writing, journaling have a neat place in our life to understand. Even we go to different areas, there's a parallel there that'll lead us back to purpose. Journaling leads us back to purpose. And by me writing the book, it led me to purpose about using my voice, using my experiences to help elevate others in their life, as me coming from didn't want to deal with the military, actually respecting it now a little bit more. And as you, as someone who loved, and it has to benefit you to understand people who had challenge with that, and we able to work together and actually work together. But journaling is a great tool, because guess what? It wasn't for us journaling, we won't get the opportunity to have the moments to have these discussions, because these thoughts would be probably have us way down. But like I said before, it's a piece. There's a piece that comes with journaling that allow us to be able to be expressive in the private moments. So when we come in the open moments, be able to communicate efficiently, because we deal with emotional challenges through the power of journaling. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense, honestly. And you said a few things that was just so important for us to definitely be able to understand. I believe it gave also a sense of not only clarity, but it helps us with our emotions. Honestly, you feel better, when you write it down, when you're actually able to put pen to paper. Honestly, you're not holding it in on the inside, your thoughts and how you're feeling, you're actually able to bring it out. In other words, you're able to give it to God, so God can be able to support you and help you as well. And honestly, you feel joyful, you feel excited and happy, relieved. You really feel relieved. And honestly, I believe that really happened when I began to write it down. You're actually not just holding it inside, you're actually writing down your thoughts, writing down those things, how you're feeling. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy. Whatever you're feeling, you're able to write it down so it can be in motion, so you can have the motion. But if you keep it in, you're keeping it bottled in, you're going to remain stuck until you let it go, let it breathe, and you're able to go in action mode. You're not able to go in action if you don't let it out. I feel that way. And journaling really is the power that helps me do that. And that's why it's a power.
Awesome. Drop 24 karat go balls indeed. All right, I'm gonna move into what we're talking about, the science and faith behind the pen. So one thing is science says that journaling lowers stress and boost focus, and we talked about that earlier. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about the science behind that. What can you let us know about journaling and how the physical effects, how it benefits? I already mentioned this standpoint, lowering stress, focus. What other things does it help us with as well?
Honestly, I really feel like it really helps you stay in a calm state. It really helps your emotions. When we talk about the science of it, honestly, it really does. It really, writing calms you down. It really does connect with your nervous system. Honestly, it really orders the thoughts where it needs to be in, and where you're able to move forward with clarity, and it's able to restore you. Honestly, you're able to be restored, having great peace, mind, body, and soul. Honestly, being able to write it down, and honestly, there is a science of it, and it really does help with our nervous system, fam. It is honestly, you really don't want to be boggled down in your head. You're able to put it together and honestly able to have great clarity because it really does work with you. They're going somewhere. Those thoughts of negativity are going somewhere. Where's it going? Is it going into, and then it begin to connect with the disease, dis-ease, being at dis-ease. And honestly, God calls us to be whole, calls us to be great. He says he's the greatest physician. So if he's the great physician, how are you able to be the great physician, Lord? Honestly, being calm and being ease, meditation on his word day and night. And honestly, being able to have clarity with that. I put all of that together, honestly. When you're journaling, when you're writing it down, you're able to do that. You're feeling so good. And it really is helping you, mind, body, and soul.
Okay, now,
Yeah.
all right, now it does, and like I said, if the negativity, it got to go somewhere. So the lot of things is the negative thoughts and stuff is you're not writing them out. Your body is holding that as muscle memory. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
actually holding the tense, holding the moments in life. The power of journaling, and like I said, when I started about 4 years ago, it was told to me it's something about the mind and the connection to the hand and the pen, and it's like a energy transfer, like an energy transfer. So you take, like I said, when you journal, you don't have to be all negative all the time and stuff like that. But when you have things that come in your life in them private moments and you write them down, there's something about releasing that. It's in like that energy is leaving your body. It's going into that paper. It's going into that movement and going into that motion and allow you to have what we call, like you mentioned before, rest, and you use the word pause, right? So allow them things to happen to you. And the science behind it is actually a proven method is you write, what I'm saying, it's more beneficial for you, beneficial for your mind, beneficial for your spirit and your well-being. And so we want to encourage people to do it. And take it from me as a person who did not want to do it. I realized it's a power behind it. It's a power, a power behind that pen, and it's a freedom that comes with that. And you don't have to, like I said before, you don't have to write, for 2 or 3 hours. If you do, so be it. That's if you're free to express it that way, even if you just take 5 minutes just to take your thoughts and stuff. I set a time block each and every day before I prepare to go lay down for rest to actually to journal. It's even as simple as with me, I say use technology. So even I had used the journal out or just set a thought, and I have a notepad. I don't have it with me right now, but I have a notepad thing that's actually in my bag that actually I can write down thoughts. And sometimes it's not complete thoughts, not complete sentences. It's a complete thought. There's a difference between complete sentence and complete thought. So sometimes I'll write down a complete thought. It might not be a complete sentence, but it's a complete thought. It allowed me to transfer something. Then I'm able to come back later, and when in my journaling moments before I lay down at night, to actually express and say, is this something that I need to address? Is this something I just feel free upon, just want to release? And everybody's different. And that way we want to encourage. There's no cookie color program for this. Either, your thoughts is your thoughts. Your beliefs is your beliefs. But the thing is with this tool is the ability to be able to write those emotions, those energies, those moments at the moment. And as I mentioned before, I believe we were the only creatures that are able to take the thoughts from our minds and actually write it down. Not just for us to read, but to be able to express it from generation to generation, from years and years to decades to centuries. What I'm saying? We understand a lot of people thoughts that, back in the day because the ability to write. And they're able to transfer their legacy of their mind through writing. And so I think it's a very powerful tool and a very, very way we can look at things. And, continuing with the idea of the science and the faith behind the pen. Lekeisha, I'm going to ask you this standpoint because you're new being a woman of God. what happens in your spirit when you write instead of just think?
You know, what happens in my spirit, honestly, when I am writing, I'm writing how I'm feeling, and I'm being honest with myself. Listen, I'm feeling not too well about this, or I want to feel clarity. So I'm literally writing down to God, listen, I need to feel something here. Something is going on in me. I know I need to do this particular process, whatever it is, if it's for a business venture or something else. I need some more clarity. God, give me clarity on this. So as He began to
Mm.
give me clarity, I began to get the answers. I'm not only in the Word of God, which is the living organism, and beginning to understand what He talks to me about, and I began to understand what to do, even when it comes to my health, when it comes to, with my health, what do I need to do to maintain good health, Lord? Because I had a health scare,
Mm.
before, when I was doing too much of anything, right? And I was being, just overloaded with things. Okay, so God, how do I bring clarity to this? And I feel that God began to tell me, listen, schedule some things when it comes to your process. Maybe you shouldn't do so much. And honestly, by me writing down, God, I'm feeling really confused about this in my health. What's going on here? This hospital bill doesn't feel cool. So I don't like that situation. I began to actually receive clarity, honestly, wise on what to do next, because I wanted to feel good. So I began to write down, I need to feel good. I need to feel clarity. I had too much on my plate. What do I do? And God began
Mm-hmm.
to strategically help me out knowing what to do. And I began to feel
Come on
better,
now.
healthier, right? I began to think clearer, and I began to do that rest like we were talking about earlier. Put a pause on it, not
Mm.
schedule too many things in my plate. I began to strategize, hey, do I need to really actually do 5 days a week in this, or do I need to do maybe 2 days a week? I had to begin to intentionally strategize what to do. And all of that
Come on now.
began to writing it down. God, help. What do I do? Help me here. And honestly, God does, he really answers right then. So when I catch it, when He answers, I had to write down what He says.
Okay.
I have to write down what He says. Because sometimes if we don't write down what God says, we forget it. I'm be honest with you. I forgot it.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of times when I don't write down what God says, it's like, okay, oh my goodness, what did you say, God? What did you say? You know what I'm saying? I begin to write it down, have a pen and paper always by me, and I had a little journaling tablet. And I began to write down my tool of what God said, and He will answer everything very clearly for me. And I began
Come
to
on now.
understand that. Okay, God, you're saying this to me. This is amazing. Okay, I feel good. I feel clarity. Even when it comes to forgiving someone, I was done wrong, God. This is not feeling good. Okay, God says, okay, that didn't feel good. Okay, you wrote this down. You're asking me this question. How do I feel? How do I forgive someone when they constantly do something over and over again, God? What do I do? And God began to give me scriptures on that. And I began to, okay, this is good. So God said to forgive all. How many times? 70 times 7? Over and over
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I began to say,
Come on.
okay, so if you want me to forgive 70 times 7, and God said to think about what I did. Think about I died on the cross for you. So wouldn't you do the same thing and continuously forgive somebody else? And it's like, God, you put it that way. Okay. You're right.
Mm.
Let me
Come
go
on now.
ahead and
That's real
forgive.
conversation there. That's
Right?
real
I
talk.
became real. And I began, me and God, we talk like this, fam. I just want to let y'all know. So I'm like, okay. So I received clarity, and I began to be positive, and I began to
Mm-hmm.
understand, taking on His perspective on things. And it began to be great for me, wise, honestly. Yeah.
Come on. Come on now. Come on now. And that's the realization of it, right? It's having the communication. Communication is a tool for life. And it's communication with our creator. Those who are believers can speak for those who are not. But there's a communication happen. It's just with yourself or the people around the web, your allies. But the thing is, or those who are true, and I say just believer standpoint, it's a relationship that you have with the creator and in his the communication that you have with him. Like I said, he confirmed things through his words. And the thing is, you talk about forgiveness. He said, and you mentioned the scripture with the time about, you forgive them 70 times 7. That means forgiveness always happens because it's a tool. It's not just for you for forgiving this person, but it's actually something within yourself. And taking it back to the standpoint of journaling, is actually allowing you to actually write down those thoughts. Because sometimes you have to write down those thoughts, things you will say, you feel like you want to say to somebody else. If you write it down, it allows you to process that. So forgiveness can operate in the standpoint of journaling. Be able to write the thoughts and deal with that emotion within yourself. What triggers you, what trigger you in that thing, and you write it down and allow you to process. And you know what? Maybe it's not as serious as I thought it may be. Or you might get a different revelation, or you might get a different thought of how things work, and in the midst of everything. So it's the beauty of using the tool of journaling, and that will happen to me because sometimes I get frustrated. And if you take the moment, that rest, that pause, instead of reaction, then you realize that sometimes you make things bigger than what it is, or you take things out of context. I'm talking about within yourself. I don't mean that person hasn't done anything, you need to go ahead and address the person in time. But but allow you to regulate. I use the word regulate. Regulators, they get a chance to regulate yourself and be able to work through the process of life through that. Hey, Coach, you have written a digital book dealing with the power of journaling, and you mentioned something is talking about the 3 clarity sprint. And if you can actually give people a hint and insight of what that really means, dealing with the 3 clarity.
Absolutely. One thing about it, I love this 333 clarity sprint because a lot of times we don't have a lot of time, right? So this is a process that I believe that was a great clarity sprint that really began to really just it was a set of freedom for myself. So 333. So it was pretty much having 3 gratitude moments, and then having 3 intentions, and then also having 3 prayers. These can be really quick, family, so I can go into it. So it's like the first three gratitude moments. What are you grateful for? Just talk about that. Like, okay, so I'm grateful for living life today. I'm grateful for waking up this morning. I'm grateful for being able to be in my right mind. Right. And then going into the 3 intentions, do you have 3 intentions for the day? What's your intention is? So I intend, to really be at peace today. I intend to walk, in my purpose today. I intend to write down, 3 moments for my book that I have. That's my intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then having 3 prayers. It can be 3 powerful prayers. It can be short. It can be three short prayers that you say. Number one, I am grateful. What are you grateful for? So you can begin to have a prayer on being grateful. You can have a prayer on my body. That can be a prayer that I walk uprightly in my body. And you can have another prayer. I have a really sound mind. Having a prayer when it comes to that. So you can have 3 scriptures when it comes to that. So having that, and they can be very brief. They don't have to be long. And have those. It's a powerful sprint of clarity. You may need this really before you go to whatever moment that you have for the day. And you need something real brief that's going to get you moving. You have that process in place. And it's going to be a great set of freedom for yourself. And I promise you, it's going to make you feel real good. It does it to me all the time.
Oh, come on now. You know I'm about. Yeah, Lego. Yeah, Lego. That is straight fire indeed. And I hope y'all guys got that information. If not, feel free, after you've been watching this podcast, go ahead and watch it again. And then, don't fast forward, watch it all the way through again and get them once again. And like I said, this is also mentioned in this amazing digital book that Coach Lekeisha created. That's actually, we're going to make sure that's in the VIP Circle community in the Break Free Nation. So, so those who definitely in there, we get the copy of that. It's definitely laid out in detail about the power of journaling and give you a whole lot of examples and detailed information that will help you if you need a guide in your life for how to do certain things dealing with
family,
this.
check out our website, livingunchained.com. This is a place where you find a lot of information about us. Two voices, one mission, true freedom. And you'll click the links below. There are some resources for you guys for free. Click on the resources for you and you just keep on going down and you'll see information about the podcast. Then also you'll see information about the amazing Lekeisha and myself as well. So definitely check out the information based on us, and you keep scrolling, you'll get opportunity to click and see what the next episode is. Then also you get an opportunity to join the Break Free Nation, where we gather together as a community and actually share ideas and get information, share more content there. So definitely check it out. And also our books are listed as well. You get the book from the amazing Coach Lekeisha, How to Get Unstuck, Confuse the Focus, and also you get the book Where. You click on the links to be able to purchase that. So we thank each and every one of y'all for the support. Now back to the show.
I'm going to jump to this standpoint because, like I said, we want to give how tos and stuff. So what? So I got an idea. I'm going to share mine a little bit later, but I want to throw this one through you first. What journaling prompts have brought you to healing or divine balance?
The journaling prompts that helped me to healing, honestly, like I gave about a little bit about my episode when I was in the hospital, and that was for not being restful, and that was just really being stressed out because I wanted to do so much in one space. I believe my two older children, they're in college now, but this is when they were in school. I wanted to maintain what they had going on, and and everything that they had in their path all together. And I said, hey, I'm a woman, hear me roar, I can do it all. But the thing is I had this temple, this body. My body could not do it all. I did not give myself a break. I didn't have put markers in place, but I thought I can just do it all. Honestly, my body began to digress, to derail itself, if that makes sense, and I passed out. I literally was just trying to do everything all at once, and it just was not working. So I pretty much had to put a pause. Well, I talked about always before. I had to really give it to God. God, what did I do wrong? Was something going on here? I'm doing too much. God pretty much was just saying that you are not giving yourself a grace enough for you to pause, for you to be able to build. I can't build on an empty cup. I literally was trying to build. I was exhausted. I was exhausted. So I had to understand that being exhausted is not fun. That's not cool. What do I do, God? God told me I need to incorporate rest into my process each and every day. When I enter incorporating rest, I begin to understand the power of journaling even more. Just being able to journal my thoughts, to journal what I wanted in order for me to hear clearly what God is saying. Because God is always talking. God doesn't stop talking. But it's all about us catching what he's saying. So I began to understand clearly what God was saying when I began to understand, to put myself in a position where I can hear him. And honestly, journaling, it was that process that absolutely able to help me out to understand how to bring in that clarity. I actually began to write, I believe it was my second book. I was able to write in the midst of the freedom. I call it Free Yourself. I was able to write that book in order that process when I began to rest and give myself clarity and understand what I need to do. So I began in my journaling, I began to write that down, and I began to put that together, and I began to write my second book, Free Yourself.
Okay. Amen. Yeah. Come on now. See, that's the thing about it. It's a process. It started with one, then you got multiple books now because of the power of being able to journal, be able to write, and understand the communication. Like you said, he's always talking. And I explain to people this: you have frequency, you have radio waves, so many frequencies around you. You don't hear them, but when you have a tuner, being able to dial into that right frequency, then you start hearing the voices, right? And and that's the standpoint. God is always talking. The frequency of the frequency that He sent through the universe is always talking. The question is, your tuner on, do you able to receive the voice He has, and through that, then it allow you through purpose to be able to write. As we were talking about that, as far as journaling prompts, and I got a what we call five. I got what I call the 5-step focus of the day, and that is be intentional, be disciplined. You know what I'm saying? Be consistent, always learning and always planning. So with that, I create prompts from that, because at the end of the day, it starts off with this affirmation that I shared it so many times. Shout out to Coach Antonio Landis Thompson. The best and the greatest day to be alive is today. So I realized, as I'm alive today, I am in purpose. So what's that attention? So I have to write that proper. What's my attention for the day? What is that attention or that purpose I'm supposed to do? Then I set disciplines behind that attention to be able to get these things done. Then I can stay consistent in the matter of making sure things get done the way it needs to get done. Then with that, with the always planning, the always learning, and always planning, is always set things I need to learn. So you're always in the process of learning. That's the beautiful thing about life. You're always in a state of learning. You don't know all things. You don't know all things. So you always can learn something different. And the always planning is you got to make adjustments. Some things happen and you think you go and plan it at 9 a.m. You realize something came up, you can't do it. So you have to do an adjustment. Always planning is making that adjustment, and you have to fit it in whenever you need to readjust and fit it in for that day. I think it's a very powerful thing, and a very thing of having your journal prompts that fit you, and it can be customizable. You know what I'm saying? You having yours allow you to be able to write multiple books. And me having mine allowed me to have I call it the rest, how you said, the rest and the peace for the day, and stay in purpose. The whole thing is to stay in purpose in the 10th of the day. You know what I'm saying? We can plan 5, 10 years out. That's fine. But the tension of the day is to work through the power of God He has you to do for the day. You take care of the day, that will help you in your future, what we call tomorrow. So, I want to drop those 24 carry go bars indeed. Hey, I want to jump into this right here. This is actually building your rhythm and hearing God through your pages. This and we talk about hearing God, right? So, all right, Coach Lekeisha, you teach a 15 minutes break-free rhythm that dealing with prayer, that dealing with journal, dealing with a whole lot of other things within that. Can you guide us through that?
Yeah, this like 15-minute just break-free session is really something that we can adopt. Honestly, it really connects with us having prayer, and just having prayer. And after, like in the middle of having prayer, what is God saying in that moment? Honestly, I keep my journal right next to me. Usually God is always saying something great after prayer, so I'm able to write out what He is saying to me. And honestly, it's an answered process for myself that I'm looking for. So after I go through that process of just intentionality, and mind you, this is all tailored into the gratitude moments as well too, I'm able to write out what God is saying, because I'm so grateful for this whole process. And honestly, that is the action that we all can have. So as we begin to have action with our the gratitude moments, we have joy, we have fulfillment, and honestly, it just really seals everything that we need for our process. Honestly, I can hear clearly the next step, what I need to do for that. Honestly, it's an answered prayer. Honestly, just being able to have that process. And honestly, this is 15 minutes, wise. Having 15 minutes to be able to have that, having that prayer with God, having that gratitude moment. God, I thank you so much for the day. I thank you that I woke up in my right mind. I thank you that I'm able to walk out today. I'm able to cook for myself. Whoa, wow, this is amazing. Honestly, it's just like a domino effect. I feel like this guy talking all the time, because He is always talking. I'm writing out everything that He's saying at that moment before I open the door for the day for everyone else. Before I get in the car. Honestly, it really is that great process before anybody else connects with me. Because honestly, you know how that goes. When you open the door for anybody else, literally in the marketplace, you don't hear anything else of what God is trying to say to you. Usually because you're trying to filter everything else that's happening in the world. When you get in your car, you're making sure that you're in the right zone where you're driving it, and making sure that you're flowing in that way. Did I do every spreadsheet that I need to do for my boss? Do they do that? Those things are coming to your head. But before you get in that car, it's important for you to have that process, 15 minutes, to be able to connect with yourself, you and God, and therefore you're powerful. You're powerful and you have action steps in place. And honestly, I believe this is a process that works for me. It's been working for years. And I've wondered, if it works for anybody else. I promise you it will.
Come on now. 24, carry, go, bars, drop. Indeed. Come on now. I'm going to have to try it. I have not tried that. So, hey, family, hey, you may try it. You might like it. So that's how I look at it like that. So 15 minutes break free. So, okay. So, that's also listed into the Amazing How the Power of Journaling digital book as well. So I definitely going to reference that and see how I can apply that and add it to my daily disciplines as well. So, what I'm saying, if it works for you, what I'm saying, I know we talk about net and cookie cutter, but some things we can provide people and introduce to people that will make their life be more efficient. So, hey, you the coach. So let me go ahead and try that. And I challenge y'all guys too to actually go ahead and try this as well and see how it benefits you. And let us know. Hit the comments. You know what I'm saying? What journaling means to you? What the power of journaling? Do you journal? You know what I'm saying? Is that yes? How often do you journal? Let us know your thoughts about this, because this is a community based right here, family, and we want to learn from one another. You know what I'm saying? We see ourselves as experts in certain areas, but we don't know all things. So, what I'm saying? So let's come together as a community and let's talk about a little bit more. As we go ahead and start wrapping up this podcast, I'm going to throw out one more thing. And Coach Lekeisha, as we get to the, I guess we said the top of the hour, how people will say, let's talk about accountability. What does breakthrough requires in our community, dealing with, especially with journaling?
Honestly, this is accountability for each and every one of us to make sure others are able to tap in to this process. And honestly, being able to write it down, write your words that's coming up inside of you on paper, honestly, is so powerful. Being able to share this with your family, being able to share this with your community, share this with your clients, share this with your boss, share this with your friends, the power of journaling. Because honestly, this is the rhythm that we're building for ourselves, a process for ourselves, and having in this as an intentional time and space. First thing in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening too. Being able to have this intentionality for yourself. And honestly, I promise you, because the breakthrough is going to happen, people are going to catch on to it. They're going to like, there's something different about you. What is going on with you? And they're going to want to know how they can do it too. And the whole point is for it to be shared to the world. Share it with your family and friends, with your colleagues, with your friends, with your business partners. Being able to share this process of journaling, writing it down, having this not just stay in your head, having it out on paper. It's a process that's going to not only save your marriages, save your families, save your connections, your businesses, your ventures, whatever you're doing, it's going to really save it. Have this intertwined into it in the process for yourself. It's going to be a collective for yourself that you're going to definitely receive clarity and freedom. Yeah.
Come on now. 24 carry, go, bars, drop, indeed. I love the word that you used, says accountability. And I'm going to go reference back when I started over 4 years ago, when I really got serious about when I met my first coach, Coach Nally. And Coach Nally, she gave me the accountability, right? Because I didn't do it before. So she, encouraged me and stayed on me about journaling. And then when I started seeing the benefits of it, I realized then it's accountability to myself to make sure I keep on doing this, because I see the results from it. Once you start seeing results of things, then you usually, most people will put discipline behind it to make sure they can try to stay consistent with it. And then, like I said, when I met you and several other people in Amazing, what we call it, in the House of Creativity, we talk about this many times. And many segments you had their own Wellness Wednesdays, where you're talking about journaling and the power of journaling. and just reinforce that accountability. When you have somebody in your life to talk about, you keep on pushing it and say, hey, keep on working at it because it didn't work. And sometimes life get to the point. That's why I say you got the 5 focus and always planning, because what happens is you don't plan accordingly. You can not right, or you get so bogged down in life, you get so bogged that you get back in your nature of holding things in. And the thing is, we want to operate in living unchained. We want to operate in freedom. And one of the ways to operate in freedom is to have making them time blocks to be able to write them thoughts out and realize you have people in your life, that keep you accountable on writing, keep you accountable on journaling, keep you accountable just on life in general, that can talk a positive word, but also be honest about you too. You're off track, that can actually also the what we call allow you to be in line. You know what I'm saying? So you don't need somebody to slap you in the head with a hammer all the time. You don't need that. You don't need somebody to slap you in the head with a hammer all anyway. But you need people to actually going to be real with you and tell you what's up. And you can be able to express yourself as you also use these tools we would call journaling, forgiveness, and all the other things to actually to calibrate you to the next place where you need to be. All right, Coach Lekeisha, I want to let you have some final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap up the show.
Absolutely. It's so important, for us to really adopt this process of journaling. When I journal, I feel free. When I journal, I feel like I know the intentions of my creator. When I journal, I feel like, my prayers are being answered. When I journal, I'm in realignment with my purpose. Journaling is not just writing things down, family. It's really a process. It's a covenant that you're having with your creator. And I believe that journaling is a process that we can truly adopt in our day-to-day process. Like I said, morning, afternoon, evening, we can actually write down what we're feeling. And it's important for us to understand that God wants us to write it down too. He wants us to connect in that way. And being able to do that through journaling, I'm telling you, it's a powerful tool that you definitely going to change your life. And as you begin to adopt this, no matter what you're doing it as, if it's 30 minutes, if it's 1 minute, it's going to be a great process for you to adopt. And I promise you, it's going to be rewarding for yourself. And you're able to be accountable. I love how Wise just said about being accountable. It's important for us to have that process. You're going to have people that are want to connect with you and do the very same thing. You being an accountability partner with someone in this journaling process is really great to be able to have. And honestly, I'm a coach and I love being a coach. Having others that are just like me, women that are just like me, men that are just like me, young people that are just like me. It's really amazing for all of us to be able to adopt it in our way. Honestly, it's really going to be a great process to be able to adopt into moving forward.
All right, come on now. 24 karat gold bars, dropped in D. I think she wrapped it up and put it with a nice, beautiful bow on top. All right, so we're going to move on to this standpoint. Lekeisha, tell people how they can connect with us.
Absolutely. Family, you need to connect with us. You can connect with us on livingunchainedpodcast.com and definitely become a family member into the Breakthrough Nation. Connect with us as well and connect with us through the website. And you don't have to get my book, How to Get Unstuck, Confused to Focus, and Wise's book called Where. You definitely want to get one of those 2 books for your arsenal moving forward. I promise you it's going to create freedom for you and definitely lean into us. Looking forward to connect with you on next week, family.
Come on now. And definitely people go ahead and go just below the like button. Make sure you hit that, you know what I'm saying? Also subscribe, you know what I'm saying? And share, But just below there as well, in the description, there are links there to the amazing website where you can get the information and more stuff to come. We definitely want to encourage people to join the community because, like I said, we can be dropping 24 karat gold bars of information, and we'll be doing an announcement of doing a giveaway, an upcoming giveaway coming up soon. And we'll announce it here. Then also definitely be in our community because that's how you get the giveaway. The giveaways in our community. So more details to come on that, family. So thank you for your support and your love, and thank you for supporting Living Unchained Podcast. This has been an amazing opportunity for me and Lekeisha to be able to share some things and give you some tools that actually will benefit your life. They benefit ours as well. So, family, you know what I'm going to say. Love is a action word. While you're taking the time to love yourself, make sure you show love to someone else, and we'll see on the next Living Unchained podcast. So family, take care and